I need to design an application such that like I need to take input from the user. Okay, so based on the input, I need to give a or I need to generate a response, right? So if I want to design an application which takes input from the user and generate a response, so we can go for making use of that servlets and JSP, and also we can design that application, right? Yes or no, guys? So like previously, like well, while learning the concept of servlets and JSP, we have done that. Okay, so similarly, so this application also can be built on those topic. Okay, so we are familiar with the servlets, we are familiar with the JSP. Just we need to extend like we need to have a classes, and we will go for designing the user interfaces in HTML files, and we can design. Okay, not an issue. So similarly, assume that our Air India company, okay, so our Air India company has designed its application. Okay, so it is going to design its application. So it consists of like UI, user interface will be there. Okay, so Air India's company's UI will be there. Okay, so similarly, it will have its own databases. Okay, so it will have its own databases. Assume that this is the database of Air India. Yeah, so this is the database of Air India, and okay, so this is the database of Air India's, guys. Sec, let me draw that completely. Finally. And obviously, like it will be having its own server. Right? So obviously, the Air India company will have its own server. So this is the representation of the server we are going to make. Okay, so this is the representation of the server. Yeah. So this is the representation of server, and we will be having database also. Like let me copy and paste it here. Yeah. So this is the kit. Okay. So assume that this is the complete application of the company Air India. Okay. So Air India is going to design an application. So it's a simple application. Okay. So where it is going to design an application where user can interact with the application, and he is going to give the starting date and end date of his, or else like sorry, he's going to give the date from when he wants to travel. Okay, so on which date he wants to travel, and then he will be going to give the starting starting place and the destination. Okay, so where you want to go, from which location to which location. So these are the input they are going to gather, or they are going to collect from their application. Okay, and then that input will be given to the, so they are writing a logic to given that input to the server. Okay, so on the click submit button. Okay, so the like basically they are going to create a form in the HTML, or yeah, so they are going to create a form in HTML. And once the form, okay, so user has filled the form, then they are going to give, sorry, then they are going to give a button. Okay, so below submit button will be there, or a check button will be there. Okay, so if user is going to click on the check button, so internally they have provided implementation. Okay, so this information has to be sent to the particular server. Okay, so that everything, the code will be present. Okay, so the web application, okay, so that code will be present inside the server. Okay, assume that this is the code for which, okay, so for whatever the request, yeah, so whatever the request will be given, that will be generated. Okay, so the for that implementation will be present in this server. Okay, so web server. So whenever user is going to click on the submit button, that details like the date, on which date he wants to travel, from which location to which location, that details will be given to the application. In this application, they have written a logic. Yeah. So they have written a logic to get the details from the database. Okay, so from this location to this location. Okay, so what is the plane is available? Okay, so what are the planes are available? That information basically they will be saving inside their database. Okay, that informations they will be going to save in the database. So from here, a request will be given to the database. Okay, so a request will be given to the database, and based on that, okay, so the location and date. Okay, so based on that, response will be given back to the server. Okay, so response will be given back to the server. So okay, so this day, so these are the flights are available. Okay, so from this location to this location, so five flights are available, like that. Okay, so how many flights are available, what are the timings, that will be given, that details will be basically present in the database, that will be given back to the server. Okay, so server will take that input, and it is going to, okay, so it is going to create a response on the based on the input given from the database. Then that response will be given back to the caller. Okay, so that response will be given back to the caller. So in the browser, okay, so they will be writing a logic. Okay, so they are going to create a one more form. So like or a simple HTML form, HTML file. Okay, so where they are going to they are going to take it. Sorry, yeah. So where they are going to use a table, and they will be displaying. Okay, so based on that, okay, so this is the these are the flights available from this location to this location on this date. Okay, so these are the information they are going to assume. Okay, so this is what the application. Okay, so this is what the application they can build. Now the thing is, one sec. Okay, so guys, the thing is, now Air India has its own server and has its own database. Okay, so the thing, okay, so and its own application. So this is the Air India's company's application. Okay, so they will be having their own database. Okay, so that complete control of the database will be taken care by them. You know, I do. Yeah, so the complete database control, they will be having the complete database control. They will be having their own control on the server, and they will be having their own user interface. Now, okay, so for this, okay, so Air India company, there is a one more third party company is there. Okay, so one more company, that is the third party company. What they are going to do? So the company name is, okay, so the company name is Make My Trip. Make My Trip. Okay, the company name is Make My Trip. So these Make My Trip people, okay, so the company, it's a third party company. Okay, so they want some of the details of the Air India. Okay, so some of the details of Air India's they want. Okay, the person who created this Make My Trip, okay, so they will come, and they will go and visit the Air India company, and they will have a word with them. Okay, so we are planning to design an application. Okay, so we are planning to design an application where we are going to provide the some of the informations. Okay, so we are going to provide. We are going to get. We need to gather some of the information, like uh, in these days. Okay, so in so and so date and so from location to location, how many flights are available from your organization. Okay, so Air India is going to provide how many companies. Okay, so assume that there is a location A and there is a location B, and for XYZ date, the they need to gather the details of the plane. Okay, so this is not a particularly one day or from one place to another place. Okay, so they need to gather for all the details. Okay, because like they are planning to design an application where user will we enter into their application, and inside the, so in this or in their application, the complete details of Air India, okay, so similar to Indigo, so similar to also like Indigo, they will go and have a word with the Indigo people, also they try to gather the information. So now Air India people will, okay, so we are ready to provide you the information. Okay, so we are ready to provide the information. So they said, and the Make My Trip people will be happy that they are going to get the details of the Air India, like what are so for this day, what are the yes sir, for this day, what are the flights are available. That information will be received for Make My Trip. Now Air India people, they said they agreed that okay, so they are going to, so they will be providing the details. Okay, so the details are required, like date. So they will yeah. So based, so for this day, how many flights are available? Okay, so that information they are going to share. Now the thing is, so in this database, okay, so in this database, will they have only the details of the flights, like for this day, how many flights are available? Apart from that, they can also have their employee details also, right? So they can also go for storing the employee details. They can also go for sorry, store some secret about their organization also, right? Yes or no, guys? So then they cannot give completely, or they cannot give the access for their database. Okay, so the Make My Trip people, they cannot go for give access, right? So instead of that, if they want to give, try to give us access for the server, again through the server they have written the logic. Okay, so if I want to give the server, like web application endpoints has to be given, so these are the servlets where you can fetch. Okay, again the database information is there, right? So database information is there. So to overcome from this problem or this scenario, what Air India people can think, okay, so okay, now no need to provide these the access for the database or access for the server. Instead of that, what we can do, we can go for design something called as web services. Okay, so we can go for design something called as APIs. Okay, so we can go for design something called as like APIs. So we will provide these endpoints. Okay, so we are going to provide these endpoints to the Make My Trip. Okay, so the Air India people are going to provide some of the endpoints to the Make My Trip people. Okay, one second. So they are going to provide the endpoints APIs to the Make My Trip people, and these APIs. Okay, so they will, sorry, so these APIs will be designed by this Air India people. Okay, so whenever user is going to give a request for this particular API, that request will be given to the database. Okay, and inside this database some of the, like what are the, based on the request. Okay, so like Make My Trip is going to give a request for this API, such a way that like the date and the starting place and destination. Okay, so from and to places is going to give, and that request should be given to this API. This API is going to give the request to the database. Okay, and this API is basically present in our server only, guys. Okay, so inside our server only we need to have this this APIs. Okay, so based on that only it is going to generate the output. Okay, so this, yeah, based on that only we can give a request. Okay, so in which server that is APIs are present. Okay, so we'll see that one. So what happens? Okay, so Air India people are going to design these APIs endpoints. Okay, so here what? Yeah. So as I said, like Make My Trip is going to give a request for these APIs, and these APIs are going to interact with the database and generate the result. Okay, then they are going to return that result to the Make My Trip people. So these APIs are nothing but the web services. Okay, so this is what we call it as a, so web service. Okay, So how we can say that it is a web service. Okay, so the thing is simple. Now we are going to give, or we are going to share the endpoints to the make my trip. Okay, so similarly, assume that another 1 or 2 months. Okay, there is one more company, something called as like Yatra, right? So we have one more third party company. The company name is Yatra dot com is the company. Okay, so now these Yatra people also going. They also come and interact with the Air India people. Okay, so they also come and interact with the Air India people. That so now they are also going to say that, okay, so similar to the make my trip, so we also want the information. Okay, so we also going to give, like, provide an service for the customer. Like, they're also asking like from date. Okay, so they want to select, they will providing the date and that day. Okay, so from this location to this, from location A to location B, what are the how many flights are available, we need to also gather the information. We So can you please provide us? So again, the Air India people will, what they are going to do? Okay, so they are going to again share this APIs to the Yatra people. Okay, so they are going to share these endpoints to the Yatra peoples, and assume that. So similarly, one more company, something called as like Go IBO, Go IBO, IBGO, something is there, right? So that company, Go, okay, so Go something. Okay, so this company is also going to ask the Air India people. Okay, so can you please provide me the details, that like date. I will going to provide the date and location A, location B. So based on that, how many flights are available for that for that place? Can you provide the details? So again, the Air India people, what they are going to do? So they are going to share this endpoint to the Go IBO. Okay, so they are going to share this information. So here you can notice that, okay, so we have something called as APIs. Okay, so we have APIs. Okay, so basically these are all also called as services. Okay, so these are also called as, so these are also called as services. Okay, so basically these are also present in our servers only, and we are going to write a logic, or we are going to create this service in such a way that the third party, okay, so anyone can give a request if they know the endpoint properly. Okay, so if they know the endpoint properly, they can go for providing, they can go for give a request for us. Okay, they can give a request, and based on that request, so in that request, okay, so we need to get, we are trying to gather the some of the information, like the scenario for designing these APIs are like the one date will be there, and the locations. Okay, so three details has to be given to me. Okay, so three details has to be given. That is like the location and sorry, two locations and one date. Okay, so these are the information will be given to me. So based on that, I need to like interact with my database. Okay, and then sorry, and then I need to gather, okay, so how many flights are available for this location. Okay, so for this location to that location on this date, how many flights are going to fly. Okay, that information I need to share, and that logic also I need to write. Okay, so all the logics will be written inside this services, and interaction with the database also, the logic will be also be written in these services. And then that information, once the information is generated, okay, so that can be shared for all these three third party application, and the response will be similar. Okay, so the response will be similar for all these third party application. The third party application, just they have to go for design a front user interface. Okay, so where they are going to gather the information like from the user, that the date from location, like location A. Sorry guys. So they want to gather the information like location A, and location B, and then they are going to give a request to the, okay, so they are going to give a request, that request to the third party, okay, sorry, our Air India application, Air India endpoints or services, and then they will get a response. I said, okay, so all these, so now here the scenario, or here the thing we need to understand is, okay, these are all are the three different uh type, okay, the three different third party owners are there, okay, so GoIBO is there, Make My Trip is there, Yatra.com is there, okay, all these three people, okay, assume, okay, all these three people, if they want to interact with my services, okay, if they want to interact with my services, or if they want to communicate, okay, so they want to give a request to my application or a web server or a services, okay, so they need to send the data also, right? So they need to send the data in, or in which format they are going to send. See, they need to communicate with my application. Then I need to have a logic to communicate with each other applications, right? So assume that Yatra team, okay, Yatra team have a developers of Python. Okay, so assume that the Yatra team have a developers of Python, and Make My Trip have a developers of React JS, and this Go also have a developers of like PHP developers, okay, or else like front end, so they want to design the front end, right? Okay, so Yatra go with the Python, Make My Trip, those people will have the front end team for like knowing the concept of React JS, and Go will be knowing the concept of Angular, okay, so they have the developers who know the Angular. Now, the task is to just design the front end and communicate with the endpoints. So the endpoints were designed in Java. Okay, so endpoints are designed. Okay, so as assume that Air India team will have the Java developers. Okay, so they use something called a Spring framework and design these endpoints. Now the GoIBO will have the Angular developers, Make My Trip have the React developers, and Yatra will have the Python developers. They need to communicate with our application. Okay, they need to give a request. Okay, so basically, like they used to design the front end only. From front end, they need to give a request. Give request to my services. Okay, so to give a request to my services, we can ask them to, okay, so we can ask them to give a request in the form of something called as like XML. Okay, so we can go for designer, or the Air India people are using different APIs which can accept XML input, or else they can also accept, okay, so they can accept something called as JSON, JSON object, or JSON notation. Okay, so notation, information, info. So info can be received in a form of a JSON notation or a XML notation. Now we need to understand this. Okay, so what is this JSON notation? Okay, so JSON, as the name stands for. Okay, so yeah, or else like yeah. One second. So JSON stands for like Java script object notation. Okay, so JSON stands for JavaScript object notation, and XML is nothing but like hyper markup language. Okay, so XML is a hyper markup language. Okay, so in these two form, they can give a request. Okay, so most of the time in industries now, okay, so nowadays in the industry, the people, okay, or the applications will be designed based on this. Okay, so applications will be designed based on this JSON object form. Okay, so based on this JSON notation only, the applications will be designed. Okay, so they're going to design the application which accepts the the information in the form of a JSON object. Okay, now we need to understand. Okay, so now the question, or we need to get, we need to know. Assume that I have a class, something called as like user, right? I have a class, something called as user. User is going to have it is ID of type integer ID is there. then he will be having a name, string name. Okay, so string name is there, and then he will be having his email ID, string email. Okay, and then he will be having a phone number. Okay, so P, phone long type. Okay, long PH, phone number. Okay, and then he will be having then password. Okay, so these are the fields. Password. Okay, so these are the fields that user will be having. Okay, so this is a Java class where we have created. Okay, so assume that this is a Java class we have created, and these are the information. So these are the information we need to gather to save a user. Okay, so now assume that these three people. Okay, so make my trip, Yatra, and go Ibigo. So they want to save a user. Okay, that okay. Assume that this is a Java class will be present in my API or a services, and so if they want to save a user to our database, okay, to our Air India database, if they want to save a user, okay, so these are the information they want to send. Okay, so they if they want to send, okay, so these are the information they want to send. Now, I need to, okay, so I said, okay, so they need to send the information in JSON format. Okay, so how they are going to send in the JSON format? Let us see. Okay, assume that they want to send the user information. Okay, if they want to send the user information, again, they will open this flower bracket. Then they are going to give the variable name as in a form of a string. Okay, so first ID they need to send. Okay, so colon, and assume that this is the 101 ID to be given by the make my trip, and they're going to send the ID as 101. So then they need to send name. Okay, to differentiate between the fields. Okay, so like to differentiate between the fields like ID and name, they are going to separate the fields with the comma. Okay, so they are going to separate the fields with comma. Again, and here you can see I am not using that double quotes. The reason is simple. ID is of type integer. Okay, so numerical value, no need to mention the double type. If it is a string, then we need to go for mention it in the double quotes or a string. Okay, yeah, so string, if it is a type string, then we need to go for double quotes. Yeah, the ID is variable, so that is the reason like we are going to going with the double quotes. Similarly for name also, I will go with the double quotes and I will give the value as name. Assume the name they want to, so the user name is they're going to store is Preeti. So Preeti is the username they want to store in the database, so they are going to give the Preeti this format. Then they need to pass the email again. So to separate the name and email, they are going to make use of this comma, and then they are going to write email, and then yeah, so they need to close this, and then the email ID of Preeti, so they are going to share the email ID of Preeti. The Preeti's email ID is Preeti dot make my trip. Okay, so make my trip.com is the email ID of Preeti. Then phone number of Preeti we need to provide, right? Okay, so they are going to provide the phone number. Okay, so here we need to understand. Okay, so see, ID I have declared as small, all the lower cases ID only, so I have given the same thing. Name also same thing, email also same thing. Phone number, okay, so phone I have given the lowercase, number I have given the no, uppercase. Okay, so here we need to confirm one more thing is that, okay, how we are going to declare a field in our Java, the same field has to be given here also. Okay, so here also we need to provide the same field name. Okay, so for phone number is a numerical value, I will pass it as it is only. Okay, so then we have a password, right? So I will pass the password. password, and so assume that Preeti is having a password like Preeti at the rate it are last four digit of the phone number. Okay, so that is like sorry, 0172. So this is the password of Preeti. So this is the user information, like 101 is the ID, name Preeti, Preeti at mikemetrip.com, phone number is this one, and password is Preeti at 0172. Then yeah, so this information has to be sent. Okay, so this is the JSON object with respect to our user class, guys. Okay, so assume that, so this is the user class we have written in our Java, then this will be the JSON user object. Okay, so this is what we can say it as a JSON user object. Okay, so this is the JSON user object to store. If so this is the JSON user object in the request, in request. Okay, so this is the JSON user object. Okay, so one has to have, if I want to save the user information in my database, then this is how I need to send. I hope you guys got an idea like how the JSON object will be there. Guys, do you have any doubts in this like Java JSON object, how to create a JSON object? Do you have any doubts here? Cool. Now, okay, so now let us look into the services. Okay, so now assume that I need to design a services. Okay, not an application. I need to go for design a services. If I want to design a service by using the Java, okay, so then we will go for making use of a framework, something called as like Spring. Okay, in that Spring, we have a framework known as Spring Boot. Okay, so we have a framework, something called as like Spring Boot. So by using this Spring Boot, we can also go for, we can, so basically sorry. So by using this Spring Boot, basically we will be designing the services. And in the most of the industry, sorry, in the industry also, okay, so if they are a Java developers and they want to design the services which will provide a service for the different companies, so then they will go for making use of this Spring Boot application. Okay, so they can go for, sorry, Spring Boot framework. Okay, so they can go for design a Spring Boot application by using the Spring Boot framework. Now let us go and learn. Okay, so now let us learn. So how to design a Spring Boot application. Okay, so to generate a response. Okay, okay. So now let us design that one. Okay, so now let us design and see. See, in Spring, we will be having multiple configurations, right? So in the Spring Boot applications, basically like we will be having the multiple configuration. It's like I will say this one. Okay. So guys, now let us design the Spring Boot application. Okay, so using this Spring Boot framework, we can go for design the application. Yeah. So I was saying that, okay, so in this Spring framework, okay, so we will be having lot of configurations. Okay, so we will be having lot of configuration. Now to make sure that, okay, so that configuration will be done in a easy manner, the Spring people, they have provided a web application, or they are going to provide a web service. Okay, they have designed the application, or they are going to provide us in their page, something called as okay, so it's the starter dot spring dot io. Okay, so we have something called as like Spring initializers, so which helps us to add whatever the like dependencies. Okay, so what are the dependencies we need to design a Spring Boot application? That dependencies can be selected from this add. Okay, so selected from here. Okay, so we can select this from this dependencies tag. Okay, so see here we will be having the n number of dependencies are available. Okay, so which are required to our application. Okay, so to design a Spring Boot and a application. Okay, so here we will be having multiple dependencies. So if you want to interact with the database, then you can see there is something called as like Spring Data JPA is there, which again helps us to interact with that. Okay, so Spring Data JDBC is there, Spring Data R2DBC is there. So if you want to interact with the MongoDB, then Spring Data MongoDB is there. See, so yeah, so these are the APIs. JDBC API is there. H2 database. Okay, so Postgre driver. See, everything will be available here only. Okay, so we will be having all the information here only. So similarly, okay, so if I want to services. So what are the dependencies we want? I will tell you. Okay, so not an issue. And we are familiar with the Maven, right? So the project type I will go for the Maven, and the language. Okay, yeah. So sure, the language is Java. Okay, so now here we need to select. Okay, so select the version like 2.7.9. Okay, so go. No need to go for that 3.1. I will tell you like, see in the 3.1 some of the things they are going to deprecate. Okay, so that is the reason I will go with the 2.7.9 only. And group. Okay, so the group we are from educational background, and we are the group from JSP. I will give that edu.jsp. And artifact ID. Okay, so the artifact ID I'm going to give that. Uh, okay, so Spring Boot application app one. I will go with like Spring Boot app one. Okay, and description. Okay, so if you want to give a description, yeah, so demo project for Spring Boot framework. Framework. So this is the description I am going to give. Okay, so this is the demo project for Spring Boot framework. To understand the Spring Boot framework, so this is the demo project I am going to design. Okay, so this is the uh, description about the project I have given. Okay, so you can give the description, whatever the description you want. Okay, so just change. Let me change the package. Okay, so no need to go with the upper cases in the package. Just I will go with the lower cases, and I will remove the number also. Okay, and yeah, so packaging, let us go with the jar file only. Okay, and the version, I'm going to select the version as you can go with 8 or you can go with 11. Okay, so you can go with 8 or 11, so I will go with version 8. Now what are the dependencies are required? Okay, so first let us understand how a Spring or a services will be designed. Okay, then we will try to interact with the database and all. Okay, so for the basic setup, what I'm going to add, so I'm going to add this Spring Web. Okay, so I'm going to add this Spring Web. This is the dependency which helps us to design a Spring Boot application. Okay, so inside this, if I add this Spring Web dependency, it is a combination of that Spring context, Spring MVCs and all. Okay, so which are required to design in service. Okay, which are required to design a endpoints. Just I will add this Spring Web is the only one dependency we need to have. Then we don't. I don't think so that we no need any other dependencies. Okay, yeah, so fine. So this is the only one dependency I will be adding. So that is enough for now. Okay, so first let us understand. Let us understand how to. Yeah, so first now let us understand this. How to design a web services and how to give a request and how to get a response and okay, how the response will be received for us in which format. We will understand that first, then we can go with interact with the database and perform all the operation. Okay, So I want everyone to get into this page. Okay, so starter dot sorry, oh yeah, starter dot spring dot io. Okay, and there, get into this link, guys. I want everyone to get into this link. Click on that, and it will be redirecting to here. Just select the project type as Maven. Language, let it be Java. Spring Boot version, go with the 2.7.9. And the group, I will be going. So you also provide the group as edu.jsp. Artifact ID Spring Boot app 1, name Spring Boot app 1, and description I have given as like demo project for Spring Boot framework. Package name this, and packing is of type jar, and Java version 1.8. Okay, so I just select this. Once that is done, let me know. We will add JDBC dependency, all the dependencies we will add later. First, now let us understand how the Spring applications will be designed. Okay, then we will like how to interact with that. We will understand then. Like we know, right? So we know the logic to interact with the database. So we can write a code, not a big issue, right? So first, now let us understand how to interact with our web services. So everyone is done. Okay. So once you have given all the information, then click on this generate. So click on that generate. Okay. So once you click on that generate, it will ask for download the a jar file. Okay. So I'm going to select the is like the pictures. Okay. So or else you can go with the desktop, guys. Like, yeah. Okay. So I will go with the desktop only. In my desktop, so many files are there. Okay. So in this desktop, I'm going to create a new folder on the desktop. I'm going to create a new folder. Wait. Okay, so I'm going to create a new folder. Yeah. So folder name I will give it as jar files, and inside this folder, let me download this jar file. Okay, so Spring Boot app one. Let me save that. Once you click on that save, okay, so automatically the file will be downloaded. Okay, the Spring Boot, we call it as this as a Spring Boot starter file. Okay, so the starter file will be added to my desktop. Okay, so I can see on my desktop, there must be a folder jar files. Yeah, so here you can see. So there is a folder something called as like jar files. Open. Okay, so there must. So you can see, I have a jar file folder. Multiple folders has been opened. Okay, so here inside this the jar file. Okay, so the jar file will be, or a zip file will be downloaded. Now what I need to do? Okay, so now I need to extract it. Okay, so now I right click on it. Okay, so right click on it and click on extract or unzip. Yeah, so I am going to click on this extract here. So once I click on this extract here, okay, so a folder will be created on that zip file name, and you can see I will be getting this .maven, src, gitignore, elms, and pom.xml. Okay, so all these informations will be present in my application. So just copy this location, path location. Okay, so just copy this path location, or else no need to copy. Open your Eclipse. Okay, so open your Eclipse. Now let us import the existing or a starter file for the Spring Boot application. Okay, so to do that, so you need to import that. Okay, so my Eclipse is wondering, I don't know. Okay, so now what you need to do, come to the file. Here we can so here you can see there is an option something called as like import. Click on that. I hope everyone extracted that. So which dependency I need to add? Just add only one dependency, so that Spring Web is the only one dependency we need to add. I hope everyone extracted that one, right? Okay. So then come back to the Eclipse. So the Eclipse, what you need to do? Click on the file, go for go for import. Click on that import button. Okay. So if you click on that import button, so this is the pop-up window you are going to receive. Okay. So just here search for Maven. Okay, so search for Maven. So here you can see there are like multiple options are there. Okay, so check out Maven project from SCM, existing Maven project, install or a depend deploy an artifact to a Maven repository, materialize Maven something like that. Now there is something second option is saying that existing Maven project. Okay, so yeah, we need to import an existing Maven project, right? So click on that, select existing Maven project, then click next. So once you click next, so it is asking root directory. Okay, so it is asking root directory where that existing Maven project is there. Just click on that browse the path. Okay, so that we are downloaded to our desktop, that we have created a jar files under this. Yeah, so folder is there, just open that. Okay, so just open that and you need to see .mvn and src, then select the folder. Once you select the folder, you need to have projects inside that. Okay, so you need to have that pom.xml file that has to be checked. Okay, so once you receive this page, I hope everyone received this one, right? So I will repeat once again, guys. See what I'm done. Click on the file, go for import option. Okay, so in this, just go for searching for a Maven. Okay, so in the import pop-up window, you need to search for Maven and you need to select the existing Maven project. So once you select the existing Maven project, click next. So you will get a pop-up window similar to this. Then go for browse. Okay, so we have downloaded the Maven project in the desktop. If sorry, we have downloaded that Spring Boot from the Spring starters. We have downloaded the starter into our desktop and jar files, and we have extracted that. Get into this folder and see you are able to see that .mvn and src. Then click on that select folder. Once you click on that select folder, make sure that in the projects you need to have that pom.xml. Okay, so you need to have this pom.xml. Once you receive this, click on this finish button and wait until unless the import operation will be done. Okay, so wait until unless the import operations are going to be completed to 100%. Yeah, so first time it will take some time. Okay, so initially for the first time to import that, it will take some time. So we need to wait. I hope everyone's when the Spring starter files has been imported to the project. Is that no, guys? So if I open, okay, so you need to see a project structure, something like this. Okay, so SRC main Java, SRC main resource, SRC test, JRE system library, 1.8, Maven dependencies, SRC target, everything, right? And pom.xml file. If I open this pom.xml file, okay, so you can get some of the dependencies. One sec, let me open that. So we need to have, okay, so the Spring version we have set it as like 2.7.9, and the application name we are given as Spring Boot App 1, and name, yeah, so this is the name. We are given Spring Boot App 1, and the description. So this is the project for demo project for Spring Boot framework. Java version 1.8 we are using, and we add the dependency Spring Boot starter web dependency we added. Okay, and one more dependency by default it will come like Spring Boot starter test, and the plugins, okay, so Maven, Spring Boot Maven plugin is added. Okay, so these are the information already exist in our pom.xml fine. Now now let me create a package. Okay, so now let me create a package. So there is already one package is there. Okay, so you can see edu.jsp.springboot app. Okay, so there is already a package is exist with the name as like edu.jsp.springboot app, that we have given the package name, so already exists. So inside that we will be having one class. Okay, the class name they are going to give the application name followed by application.java. So my application or a project name is Spring Boot app 1. They are also going to give the class name as Spring Boot app 1 application. Okay, so inside this we will be having a main method. So inside this, we will be having a main method. So just wait one more second, one or few seconds. Yeah, so you can see we will be having a main method, and they're going to use some annotation like Spring Boot application. Okay, so we'll understand that what is the purpose they are using that, and they are written. Okay, inside this main application, they are going to write a logic. Okay, so Spring application. Okay, so Spring application dot run, and they're going to pass the same class with some arguments. Okay, now not responding, so I have to. Okay, so these are the some information already exists. Okay, now let me create one more package. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a package on, yeah, so I'm going to create a okay, so now let me create a class. While creating a class I will give the package name also. Okay, so I'm going to give the package name as controller. I'm going to give the package name as controller, and name of the class, let me give the name as including pointer. Okay, so come on. Okay, so just I will go with the user controller only. Okay, so I'm going to give the class name as user controller, and then click finish. Okay, so then just click finish. Just click finish. Okay, so here let me add a method. I'm going to give the method as public void or some method name I need to give. Okay, so okay, so let it be wide as it is. After that, we can change. Okay, so the method name I am going to give it as get sorry, get message is the method name I have given. Okay, so I'm not accepting any values for this method. I will add a return type of a string. Okay, so now I will make this or I will change the method return type to string, and here I'm going to give a message as hi. Okay, so hi, welcome to Spring Boot app. Okay, so I'll just give the message as hi, and like in the next line, I want to print in the next line, welcome to Spring Boot app. Okay, so this is the message. Now I need to make this. Okay, so as a endpoint. Okay, so I need to make this as a endpoint. To perform that, so here I need to use an annotation, something called as at the rate rest controller. We have an annotation, something called as rest controller. So which helps us to make this class as a endpoint or a API for which user can give a request. Okay, to give a request, we need to have some address. Again, we need to go for create a URL mapping and all. Okay, so for that, we can make use of an one more annotation, something called as a request mapping. Okay, so we have an annotation, something called as request mapping, so which is basically used to create the endpoint for this particular class, guys. Okay, so request mapping in so request mapping, so it is which is used to create an endpoint for this particular user controller class. Okay, so I'm going to give the endpoint as slash. I will just go for giving it as okay, so I will just give it as user. Okay, I will give it as a user. And now, so one has to give a request from the front end, right? So one has to give a request from the front end. So that request will be given to particular this method. Okay, so and in user, so that request has to be received for this method. Okay, so for that, I will be using an annotation at the rate get mapping. Okay, so is the annotation I will be making use of it. Okay, so if anyone wants to give a request for this particular this class, they need to use get method in their HTTP request, and then they need to use a what? So they need to use a endpoint something called as user. Okay, so just use the endpoint as user and give a request for this user using the endpoint or using the HTTP method as get. Okay, so just like yes, just like just write this code and see whether your application is right or wrong. Okay, so then I will explain you. Okay, so in details why I'm using this request mapping, why I'm using this rest controller, why I'm using get mapping. Okay, I will tell you in details only. Okay, not no need to worry, guys. Just write this code. Okay, so create a class under the package like edu.sp.springapp.controller. Create a class called user controller. Use an annotation called as like rest controller, and one more annotation called as like request mapping. Okay, and then inside this class have a method like you not responding. Okay, so I have a method like sorry, public string return type of the method is string. Get message is the method name which returns a message like hi, welcome to Spring Boot app. So complete it, guys. Once that is done, let me know. Then we will give a request and see whether our application is right or wrong. So guys, if that is done, right? So come back to my Spring Boot one Spring Boot app one application dot Java file. Okay, so just right click on it and run it as a simple Java program. Okay, so run as option kodoguru. Right click, run as a Java application. No need to run on the server, just run it as a Java application. Okay, so just give it as a or run it as a Java application. So once you run that, okay, so there in the console you can see that Spring framework is getting started. Okay, so we I will tell you. So here you can see starting Spring Boot app one application using the Java 1.7. Okay, so on this one so computer it is giving the message, and then it is giving, okay, so no active profile set, falling back to one default profile default. So Tomcat initialized with port 8080. Did we run on server? No, right? So we are just run as a Java application. Yes or no, guys? So we just run it as a Java application. But then how this Tomcat has been called and it is running. So my application is running on the port number 8080. I will tell you how. Then starting the service, starting servlet engine, cool initializing Spring embedded web application context, root web application. Okay, so at the end you can see started Spring Boot app one application in 9.439 seconds. Okay, so it is saying, okay, so my application is ready, it is running. Okay, now what I need to do is now just come back to the browser. So once again I will share the entire screen. Okay, so guys, just 1 second, give me a second. Okay, so Prem, you are getting that web server failed to start port 8080 already in use. Just check in your Eclipse. Okay, so I'm going to stop this one. Just check in your Eclipse. In the previously, have you running a servers? Okay, so or else click on this servers. Come on, click on that service. So there you will be getting an option like Tomcat option will be there. Just right click and go for stop it. If it is running, go for stop it. Then you can run this application easily. Okay, so run as Java application. I'm going to run it as a Java application. Yeah, so again, once again, it is running the same thing. Same code will be there. Not a big deal. Okay, so it is running in a much faster. Cool. Now, I will come to the browser. And in the browser, I'm going to use again HTTP colon to forward slash localhost, and the port number is 8080 slash what I have configured. Okay, so I have configured as user. Okay, so small use, go with the small user. Okay, so I went with a user. Then I will give a request. Hey, I'm getting a response. Hi, welcome to Spring Boot app, but it is not in the next line. Yeah, so I will tell you like why, because it is using what. So just it is getting as a text. It is not getting it as a see in your other eclipse. See, I'm getting the output. Okay, so hi, welcome to Spring Boot app. Now, let me change the message. Hi, welcome to Spring Boot app. Okay, so now if I give one more request, I'll get the same message. Okay, so now let me change the message. Hi, welcome to the Spring Boot app. I'll give the name as Preeti. Okay, so then I will save this, save my user controller. Oh, yeah, so save this, and then if I give, I will not get that changed messages because like my application is started. I need to stop this, and then again I need to rerun my application. Come on, so run as Java application. So I need to rerun. Okay, so we used to do this one in the server also, right? So here also I need to perform the same operation, rerun. Okay, so it is getting okay, so it is launching. It takes some time sometimes. Yeah, so my application is running. Now let me give a request and see I'm getting okay. So whatever the changes I have done, that changes is reflecting here. Okay, so I'm getting the output. I hope everyone receiving an output, right? Failure to start. Cool. Great. Send me that screenshot. What is the error? And Prem, just check in your system. Okay, so multiple Eclipse will be there. So in that, maybe you are going to run the server. That is the reason it is blocking you to run this application. Failure to start. Guys, how many of you getting error? Like I can see here, Prem, Maitri, and Dikshita. Then apart from that, I think like everyone executed. Okay, so Prem and Dikshita. Apart from that, I hope everyone's are getting the output. What about the down guys? Yeah, later either lane with okay. So again, three count. Guys, send me that. Okay, so in the Q tag, you can just drop me a message. What is that exception you are occurring? Just drop me in the Q tag, and then I will reply there. Yeah, you can change a port number, but not today. Okay, so I will tell you. So once again, I think like
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning, guys. This is Pallavi from management. So today I'm here to update you small informations regarding your QTalk app. Firstly, I just wanted to know: are you everyone are using that QTalk app? Are you people are using QTalk app? Is that working properly? Okay. Anybody facing issue? Yes. Okay. So guys, those were facing issue. Those were facing difficulties while logging to that app. While logging to the tab, please ping your details to the HR's number. Your name, deal name, your name, email ID, and phone number. This batch code, guys. Testing course. And please take a snap of this once done with your class. Check out this process. Here is a process of installation of QTalk. Your username should be a contact number, and password should be your first four letter of your email ID and continued by last four digit of your contact number, guys. Follow this process, and that too also, if you face issue, please ping your detail to the HR's number. Your name, email ID, phone number, and this batch code will add to the QTalk app, and you will interact with us and also trainer. So shall I stop sharing my screen, guys? I'm stop sharing my screen now. Ma'am, I gave an how come Prem Krishna like a six digit of phone number? And please do follow this process now today. Password, ma'am. So here we are clearly telling in that no first four letter of email ID and last four digit of your number, contact number. Please do follow this. So collect certificate. Okay, please contact to this number. Those who are looking for that course completion certificate, please do contact for this number only, guys. And for the translator also, and if you want to switch from offline to online, online to offline, you need to contact to this number only. So shall I stop sharing my screen? Okay, I'm stop sharing my screen. So grooming session. Guys, grooming session will check on that management and Prema Krishna and let you know in tomorrow's class. Grooming session, no? Yeah, I'll check on that management and Adviti so update class is timing is shift timing is 12 to 9. Try to call after 12. Advitya. Advitya, try to call after 12 o'clock. Webtech. So Webtech will let you know, Prem. Definitely will let you know if any upcoming batches. Clear, everyone? And please do contact us if you face any issue while logging to that QTalk app, guys. That's it from my hand. Thank you, guys. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so where we are. Okay, so guys, most of them are getting the error that regarding the port, right? So now I will show you how to change the port. Okay, so here you can see there is something called as like src resource, and we have application.property file. Okay, so here just type it as I think like 1 second I will check. Spring dot, sorry, just go with server dot port. Okay, so server dot port, which is equal to 8081, I will give, and then I will save this one. Once you saved that, come back to the application, right click on it, run as a Java application. So once again, getting site cannot See, okay. So guys, now you can see Tomcat started on port 8081. Okay, so what is the code we need to write? The code or the something. Okay, so that is like server dot port. Okay, so if you mention in the application dot properties, what is the port on which port your application has to be run? Okay, based on that, your application will be started in the this Spring Boot. So just Priyanka, what is the issue is there? Just drop me the screenshot in that QTAC app. I will go through that and I will reply you back there. Okay, cool. So those who are facing that application cannot be started on port number 8080, they can use this code and they can run it. Okay, so that's all for today, guys. Okay, so then we will continue in the tomorrow session. Like we will see the complete implementation of Spring Boot, and then I'll try to end the session there only. Okay, so that's all for today. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye, guys.